It looked like a perfect love story. Shaunie O'Neal and Pastor Keion Henderson, united by faith, love, and purpose. But one night, everything changed. Shaunie uncovered a secret so shocking, it could shake the foundation of their marriage, the very church he leads. This isn't just about betrayal. It's about trust, faith, and a double life hidden behind powerful sermons and picture-perfect posts. Stay with us because what you're about to hear might completely change the way you see one of today's most respected spiritual leaders. Shaunie thought she had a clear picture of the man she married. Behind Pastor Keion Henderson's calm sermons and respected public image was a secret he never imagined would be exposed. What Shaunie found out behind the scenes made her question everything: his words, his beliefs, and even the life they were building together. And let me tell you, this is not just some harmless rumor. This is the kind of truth that could shake an entire church from the inside out. It all started like a beautiful love story pulled straight from a fairy tale. Shaunie O'Neal, confident, accomplished, and known for her success as the executive producer of Basketball Wives, had built a name for herself in the world of reality television and business. Strong, stylish, and unapologetically real, she had already walked through the fire of high-profile relationships and emerged even stronger. On the other side of that love story stood Pastor Keion Henderson, a charismatic spiritual leader with a global following and a church that welcomed thousands every week. Known for his powerful sermons, messages of healing and purpose, and his ability to connect deeply with people, Keion had become a trusted voice in faith-based spaces. Together, they seemed like a match made in heaven to people who had found each other not by accident, but through divine timing. Love, faith, and vision appeared to unite them. Their relationship blossomed in the public eye, and fans were thrilled to see this beautiful pairing unfold. They shared heartfelt posts on social media, photos filled with laughter and prayer, and sweet captions that often included Bible verses or words of gratitude for one another. Their wedding in 2022 was grand, emotional, and full of hope, symbolizing not just a union of two hearts, but of two powerful platforms that many believed would do great things together. From the outside, it all looked perfect. But sometimes, even the most flawless pictures hide cracks beneath the surface. Behind the Instagram smiles and blended family moments was a growing silence that only those paying close attention could feel. Over time, things started to change. Shaunie, once a regular and vibrant presence at church events, began stepping back. Her usual front row seat during Keion's sermons sat empty more than once. While some assumed she was just busy with work or traveling, others began whispering something felt off. And then came the shift that no one expected. The silence turned into suspicion, and suspicion turned into shock. In today's story, we are pulling back the curtain on the deeply personal and emotional journey Shaunie has reportedly faced. What she discovered behind closed doors has left fans stunned and social media in a frenzy. The secret she allegedly uncovered about Pastor Keion is not just about marriage, it reaches into faith, leadership, and the delicate balance between personal and public life. Sources close to the couple suggest that Shaunie had sensed something was wrong long before the public caught on. There were small ones at first. Keion, usually open and warm, had become distant. Conversations that once felt deep and full of love had become short, distracted, and guarded. Phone calls that ended too quickly, messages that vanished, and subtle changes in how he behaved at home started adding up in Shaunie's mind. Her heart wanted to believe everything was fine, but her intuition told her otherwise. For someone who had already lived through a very public and painful divorce with NBA legend Shaquille O'Neal, Shaunie knew the cost of ignoring red flags. She had grown wise to the patterns of public personas hiding private truths. She started paying attention closely. What she eventually found would shake not only her trust in Keion but her sense of spiritual grounding. The discovery was more than a betrayal, it was a revelation. It challenged the very foundation of their marriage and the values they publicly shared. The news spread quickly through private circles, eventually exploding across platforms like Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. Fans were left asking, did Shaunie know all along? Was their relationship real? How could a man of God allow this to happen? And as the questions mounted, the signs became more visible. People in the church noticed Shaunie's growing absence. Supporters felt confused. Friends and followers began to divide, some defending the pastor, saying he was under spiritual attack, while others demanded accountability, asking how such a deception could be hidden behind the pulpit. This is not just another celebrity couple going through a rough patch. This is something deeper and far more complicated. It is about a woman who trusted again after. It is about a leader whose words inspired thousands, but whose private life now raises painful questions about honesty, vulnerability, and spiritual integrity. And most of all, it is about the very human struggle between what we believe, what we see, and what we feel in our hearts when everything starts to fall apart. The clues were there, the silence was loud, and now, the truth is beginning to unfold. What happens next will not just change the course of one marriage, it may forever alter the way people view one of today's most influential spiritual leaders. What exactly did Shaunie find? Why has Pastor Keion stayed so quiet? And how is this hidden truth affecting both their marriage and his work in the church? This is not just a celebrity couple having issues. This is a painful and emotional situation that strikes at the heart of trust, belief, and leadership. And just when you think the story could not go any deeper, it does. So stay with us, because by the end, you will understand why this revelation has everyone talking, and why it could completely change what we thought we knew about Pastor Keion Henderson. From the outside, their love looked like something out of a modern fairy tale. A powerful, successful woman and a respected spiritual leader joining together in what seemed like a divine union. Their 2022 wedding was beautiful and full of hope. Fans called it destiny. But now, that once perfect image is falling apart, and the truth behind it may leave you speechless. Everyone thought they were relationship goals. Keion had a calm, confident presence, the kind that made people listen. He was smart, and carried himself like a true leader. Shaunie brought a different kind of power. She was stylish, strong, and had a realness that connected with people. Together, they seemed like the perfect pair. Their social media was full of loving moments, Bible verses, sweet messages, and glimpses into their blended family life. It gave hope to people who had been through heartbreak and were looking for love that felt real. But the thing about perfect pictures online, they do not always show the whole story. While the world saw a glowing couple in love, those closer to them started noticing small changes. They posted less often. Shaunie stopped attending some of the church events, and during a live church stream, viewers realized Shaunie was not in her usual front row seat. Some thought it was nothing, maybe she was just busy. But looking back, now, those were early warning signs. Something was not right behind the scenes. Shaunie had started to feel something. Things were not adding up. There were strange late-night phone calls, secretive whispers, and locked phones. As someone who had lived in the spotlight for years, she understood how easy it was to fake a perfect life in public while hiding pain in private. So she began to watch more closely. She paid attention. And what she found would shake not only her trust in Keion but everything he stood for. But before we go deeper into what she discovered, we need to understand where Keion came from and why this secret hits so hard. Pastor Keion Henderson was not always a well-known preacher. He was born in Gary, Indiana, and raised in tough circumstances. He often preached about how pain gave him purpose, and how rejection led him to something better. He was open about his tough childhood, his issues with his father, and the hard times he went through. That honesty won people's hearts. Keion had a gift. He could take spiritual lessons and make them feel personal. He spoke with passion and boldness, and even people who were not religious found themselves drawn in. His church, the Lighthouse Church of Houston, became more than a place of worship. It became a movement. Thousands of people watched his sermons online. He spoke about love, faith, healing, and purpose in a way that made people feel seen and understood. To many people, Pastor Keion was far more than just a preacher. He was seen as a guide, a motivator, and a true voice of hope for those struggling to find direction in life. Through his sermons, he spoke about purpose, healing, and the power of faith in a way that felt deeply personal. His ability to take scripture and make it relatable earned him admiration from people across the world, both those rooted in the church and those just searching for something deeper. To his followers, Keion was not just a man of God, he was a symbol of strength, resilience, and spiritual integrity. But here's the hard truth. When someone is placed on a pedestal that high, it only takes one hidden truth, one painful revelation to bring it all crashing down. And as Pastor Keion's popularity grew, so did the spotlight. His messages were shared by thousands, his church was thriving, and his social media presence made him even more visible. With that level of fame came intense scrutiny. Every sermon, every appearance, every quote, and every relationship was suddenly being watched and dissected. So when Pastor Keion and Shaunie O'Neal went public with their relationship, and eventually tied the knot, it was big news. Many celebrated the union, seeing it as a beautiful merging of faith and strength. Keion, the charismatic preacher, and Shaunie, the powerful businesswoman and reality TV executive. It was a match that felt refreshing and bold. Fans praised the couple, calling them an example of how love could blossom between two strong individuals from very different worlds. But not everyone was convinced. Some critics questioned whether a pastor, especially one who preached about humility and spiritual discipline, could truly align with someone from the world of reality television, known for its drama, luxury, and fame. Whispers began circulating. Was this pairing genuine, or was it too different to work in the long run? Despite the outside noise, Keion never backed down. He publicly supported Shaunie at every step. He often spoke about her transformation, her maturity, and her passion for purpose-driven living. He made it clear that she was not just a glamorous public figure, she was his equal, his partner, his teammate. Together, they began building what looked like a powerful faith-based brand. They hosted marriage retreats, shared spiritual reflections, and hinted at future projects that would combine their strengths for greater impact. From the outside, it truly looked like a dream partnership, to powerful people using their platforms to inspire others. They smiled in photos, prayed together, and shared affectionate captions that touched thousands. It gave hope to many who believed in second chances and divine timing. But sometimes, even the most beautiful stories have hidden chapters. And behind that picture-perfect love, something darker was quietly unfolding, something that would soon challenge everything the world believed about them. But something was off. Behind the smooth sermons and confident words, there were cracks, small inconsistencies, things only someone very close to him could notice. And Shaunie, who had already lived through a very public marriage and divorce from an NBA star, knew the signs of trouble. She had seen them before. Shaunie O'Neal had seen the warning signs before. She was no stranger to heartbreak or public betrayal, and over the years, she had learned exactly what to watch for. Phone calls that ended the moment she walked in, messages that mysteriously disappeared, and a shift in Keion's tone when he talked about certain people from his church. It all made her feel uneasy. At first, she tried to brush it off. This was the man who stood beside her at the altar, quoting Bible verses and promising her forever. She wanted to believe in him, but deep down, her instincts were sounding alarms. And soon, those gut feelings would lead her to a truth no one saw coming. What exactly did Shaunie discover, and why did it trigger one of the biggest storms they had ever faced? Shaunie had always trusted her intuition. After spending years in the tough world of fame and relationships, she had developed a sharp sense for when something just felt off. And with Pastor Keion, that uncomfortable feeling kept growing stronger. It started small. He changed his passwords, acted distant, and seemed distracted during moments that used to bring them closer. Simple conversations that once ended in laughter and prayer now faded into silence and vague replies. Still, Shaunie held back. She wanted to believe in the man she married, a man who preached truth, loyalty, and spiritual values. But her peace of mind kept slipping away. Something was wrong. And then one night, while Keion was away at a church conference, Shaunie did something she never imagined she would do. She opened his tablet now, before judging her. Think about what she was feeling: confusion, heartbreak, spiritual unease, and a growing fear that her trust had been broken. What she found confirmed her worst fears. Hidden between sermon notes and church schedules were messages, encrypted chats, call logs, and conversations with a woman Shaunie had never heard of. Some of the messages were short and secretive. Others were flirty, emotional, even suggestive. She saw photos, dates that didn't match Keion's calendar, hotel bookings in cities where he claimed he was preaching solo. There were cash withdrawals, and even deleted voice notes, some of which had been restored from cloud backups. These weren't just emotional texts. They revealed something deeper, something planned and hidden. Shaunie was crushed. How could the man who spoke so often about faith, trust, and honesty be living this kind of double life? For hours, she sat there, reading message after message, each one cutting deeper. It was not just infidelity, it was a betrayal of everything he claimed to stand for. And for someone who had not only trusted a husband but also followed him as a spiritual leader. This hurt in a different way. It shook her faith to the core. By morning, Shaunie had not slept. She had cried, gotten angry, and then made a decision. She would not confront him without having all the facts. So she began quietly investigating. She reached out to a trusted friend in media, someone outside their personal circle. She started asking subtle questions in church spaces. And then, it happened. The confirmation she never wanted. Keion had been emotionally involved with a woman he had ministered to. A woman who saw him as a guide and spiritual support. Even worse, it appeared this was not the first time. There were rumors that this kind of behavior had happened before. But here is where the story truly shifts, because what Shaunie did next not only shook their marriage, it rocked Keion's entire ministry. When public figures fall, the impact is rarely small. But when a respected pastor, a man trusted by thousands, is caught in a scandal, the damage spreads far and wide. Shaunie's discovery had already broken her heart, but the storm it would create was only just beginning. She did not go public right away. Instead, she sat down with Keion privately. According to those close to them, it was not a loud, dramatic confrontation. Shaunie, holding back tears but full of quiet strength, laid out the evidence, messages, photos, dates, everything. Keion's response: at first, denial. Then came excuses. It's not what it looks like. I was emotionally weak. It was a mistake. The usual lines. But Shaunie had heard them all before, in another life, in another marriage, and this time, she was not going to fall for them. Behind the scenes, their conversations became strained. The love that once felt strong was now full of doubt. Trust was shattered, and while the public still saw them as a picture-perfect couple, the truth was, they were barely holding it together. But secrets, especially in today's world, don't stay hidden for long. Soon, quiet whispers began to spread. A few anonymous posts popped up in private church Facebook groups. Then came the questions, the rumors, the suspicion. What was really going on with Shaunie and Pastor Keion? And this was just the beginning. Sunday services were not the same anymore. Fewer people were showing up. Some of the ministry leaders quietly stepped down from their roles. A few even admitted they had heard whispers long ago about inappropriate counseling sessions, but they had stayed silent. Some were scared, others loyal. But everything changed the day an audio clip leaked online. The clip, posted on a gossip blog known for exposing church scandals, shocked everyone. The voice, one that sounded exactly like Pastor Keion, was heard speaking to a woman during what was supposed to be a private counseling session. But instead of offering spiritual help, the tone was emotional and personal, crossing boundaries that no spiritual leader should ever cross. The woman sounded vulnerable, and the words felt wrong. In an instant, the secret was out. The clip spread like wildfire on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube. Everyone had questions. Is this really Pastor Keion? Did Shaunie know? Was their marriage ever real, or just a show for the public? The internet was flooded with comments. Some people showed support. Others were angry and disappointed. Inside the church, members were stunned. Some defended Pastor Keion, calling this a spiritual attack. But others left completely, saying they could no longer trust a man who did not live by the same faith he preached. Shaunie was going through her own storm. She had faced public criticism before. Being the ex-wife of an NBA legend and a reality TV star meant she knew how to handle drama. But this was different. This time, it was not about fame. It was about her heart, her beliefs, and her personal walk with God. As the pressure grew, Shaunie pulled back. She stopped going to church events and stayed off social media. Sources close to her say she began private therapy and sought spiritual guidance. She was deeply torn, wondering if her marriage could be saved, or if it was even worth saving. The Lighthouse Church, once full of life and faith, was now deeply divided. Some demanded answers. Others stood by Pastor Keion, calling this a test of faith. And what about Pastor Keion? He stayed mostly quiet. During one Sunday sermon, he gave a short, vague message: God knows our hearts. And when we fall short, His grace is enough. No apology. No direct mention of the situation. Just grace. But this is where the story takes an even more shocking turn. Because what came out next added a whole new level of surprise. Someone close to the church, someone trusted by many, may have been protecting this secret the entire time.